And with Purdue, Mackey Arena, big home court advantage. Place gets loud. They're not going to have the fans. And I think that's going to do Purdue in a lot more than other teams in the Big Ten. And, a couple of transfers coming out. They got that one breakout guy coming in. They might struggle a little bit here, Don.
Yeah, Purdue is definitely a fringe team for this conference. And they were a very interesting team last year because there are games where they dropped 80, 90, even they dropped 100 points one time, if I recall. But then the next game they'd come out and they'd score 50 points. And you're like, what is wrong with you, Purdue? Like, they'd be a gambling nightmare, honestly. And they have the number 5 recruiting class in the conference, and that comes with the reputation that Purdue has built themselves of being a genuinely consistent team, consistent program, and making the tournament. Not sure if they would have last year, but they got one last year with Matt Harms, 7'3" center. We saw what they did with Haas in his final year as a senior. They ended up making that Elite Eight run, and they were a lucky shot away from making the Final Four by Virginia. So I think this team has some potential to make the tournament and possibly make a run to the second weekend, but I could also see them faltering and not being a very successful team this year. Purdue's a huge wild card for the Big Ten and its reputation for this upcoming year.
Yeah, probably the best team in this Tier 2B. Really, if you want to really look at what they have, a couple of transfers going out, Matt Harms, no Joe Eastern, and perhaps some of the comments that Matt Painter made about them could be something that brings the rest of the team together, saying that we want to be at Purdue, we want to be a part of this team, let's go out and make something happen. And I do think that Purdue could struggle a little bit. They have a couple of decent shooters that are going to have to be good. Travion Williams coming back, they're going to have to do something here to make that happen. And I'm curious what you think about the home court advantage bit, Don. How much do you think that's going to affect Purdue more than some other teams in the Big Ten?
Well, it all depends on how many fans can be in the stands. I think that's a big thing. And especially later on in the year, assuming we don't know anything, the virus continues to get worse as we go on. Now, it could be the opposite, or it could be that way. And if the virus continues to get better, or the situation surrounding the virus, I should clarify, then they could get more fans in the stands. Like you already mentioned, Mackey, great home court advantage. Honestly, one of the best in all the country, definitely amongst the top in the conference. And if they can get a loud majority of fans at their home games, they're going to pick up some wins that they probably shouldn't get. We saw them perform extremely well at home and then nowhere near as good on the road. And that 100% is a product of the home court advantage at Mackey.
Yeah, wins against Minnesota, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Iowa, all at home last year. And this is where I think we slightly digress with this because, first off, I don't think we'll have fans at all in the arenas at any point this season. I just don't think that's going to be something that, especially the university presidents, I don't think that's a risk they're going to want to take as far as liability is concerned. So I think that's where we slightly digress. And if the situation gets worse, I think that could be the end of the season. So I do think this is where we slightly digress a little bit. And I just think that Purdue's going to be able to – their struggle. Without the home fans at the arena, I think Purdue is a little more susceptible to a struggle than a lot of other teams in the Big Ten. And I do think that's going to come back a little bit and bite Purdue. And I do think that they are going to have a bit of a struggle. So,
and you could also argue that they will be better on the road this year because there will be less home fans for their opponent. So it kind of goes both ways. Now the question is, will they step up more on the road or will they step down more at home? That's going to be a big highlight for Purdue's season. And of those teams that we've talked about already, in my rankings, I have Purdue as the highest team.
Yeah, and I think that is absolutely the fair point. I think all 4 of these teams have some pieces from last year not coming back. They're going to struggle a little bit to sort of regain the momentum, but I do think Purdue has more pieces returning than the other 3 that we mentioned to sort of give them a bit of an advantage over some of those teams.